Hi guys, welcome back aboard good old Spiffy, our 44-foot hurricane damaged DIY catamaran project boat. This week's video is sponsored by Incogni. More about them a little bit later. Let's start with a quick little recap. A little over a year ago we purchased this hurricane damaged catamaran that had been sitting in a yard in Melbourne in Florida for around 4 years. After having completed all the necessary work to make her seaworthy-ish again, plus a couple of just for the fun of it projects, it was finally time for our boat named Spiffy to go back in the water. We spent 2 weeks bringing Spiffy north on the ICW before hauling out in Bridgeton, and then finally, last week, the good folks at Trident moved her all the way to Oriental. This week, my big goal is something I've been looking forward to for a fairly long time now, and that is to finally finish our move to Oriental. We still have our CRV, our tool trailer, and of course also the stairs to get on and off the boat down in Florida. While I'm down in Florida, I'm gonna swing by the old yard and tidy up the little bit of stuff we left down there, just so it's nice and tidy. By the end of this week's video, if everything goes according to plan, our much beloved tour trailer should be somewhere right around here, and that will make me very happy. Getting all of our stuff moved to Oriental would mean we are one step closer to actually finally being able to get back to working on the boat, which I think we're all excited for. A part of getting ready to get back to boat work is also to get all of our stuff here about the catamaran out of here, so I can start making a mess again. But yeah, we managed to put quite a bit of stuff on this boat for the move up here. Ah, wouldn't you know it? That's the lovely wife unit calling me from London. Hey boo, how is London treating you?
It's great, but listen, we can finally afford the new mast.
Okay, that's kind of out of the blue. Like, did we win the lottery or something?
No, even better. Okay, I know you said that we're not related to the Nigerian prince, whatever, but something even better, I got a text, okay? And apparently I have some long-lost Uncle Rufus, and he is some kind of oil billionaire. We're going to be rich.
That doesn't sound right.
I knew you weren't going to believe me, but listen, he knows all this information about me. He knows what street I grew up on, and he knows my phone number.
Ava, that reeks of being a scam. I think you need Incogni.
Oh my god, what is Incogni?
Well, now that you ask, Incogni is the sponsor of this week's video. Unfortunately, using the internet in any way, shape or form means your personal data is scattered all over the place. And as data breaches become more and more common, your personal information is at risk and you will start receiving more and more spam. Part of the problem is that data brokers will get their hands on your data and sell it for a profit. Through this process, your information can end up in the hands of all kinds of people, including Ava's long-lost Uncle Rufus. There are many problems with this. For instance, in the US, there are dedicated people search websites that will aggregate all the data they can find on every single person and then make that available on the internet. They turn a profit by giving away your sensitive information, potentially to people with bad intentions. There are countless examples of how this can be harmful or annoying. There are examples of huge loans having been taken out in people's names without them even knowing about it. Or we're all familiar with the scourge of the 21st century, robocalls. Incogni can help. Incogni will contact the data brokers on your behalf and request that your personal information be removed. All you have to do is to create an account, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf, and then sit back and watch them do the work. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code SAILLIFE or go to incogni.com/saillife to get 60% off the annual plan. Incogni also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk in giving it a try. Thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring this week's video. The airport in Newbern is tiny, which is a good thing, and what it lacks in size it makes up for with these funky-looking ceiling lights that change color. I vastly prefer flying out of smaller airports. Right on time, my phallically shaped ride to Orlando pulled up. On Mondays and Fridays, you can fly direct from Newbern to Orlando for I think it was $75 if you don't check any bags. I don't foresee us going down there often, but it's a really nice option to have. Flying is a delightfully fast yet at the same time exhausting way to travel. Of course, one big upside being is you get to see everything from up high. Here is New Bern, which is our local, in quotes, big city with a super charming little downtown area. I also managed to get a quick glimpse of the Brighton boatyard where we hauled out last week. And just like that, we are back in Florida, but not without one little Captain Dum-Dum mess up. So where I'm staying, there are two hotels right next to each other. They're basically the same price. I think there's like a $5 price difference. One is much nicer than the other, and the nice one also has a really nice breakfast. Of course, Captain Dum-Dum booked the wrong one, so no breakfast, slightly shittier hotel, same price. The big upside to staying at the bad hotel is that it is still very close to the yard. Now, it didn't look like much had changed in the yard since we left almost a month ago, and I was kind of expecting to see a big open hole where Spiffy had been, but of course that hole had already been filled by other stuff. We'd already cleaned up all of the major stuff before we left with Spiffy, but I wanted to come by just to clean up all the little loose bits we didn't have time to get to, and just to make sure that we left the place nicer than we found it. Now starts the next part of this adventure, and that is all gonna be tool trailer related. We need a couple of new spare tires just in case. So yeah, let's head out into the wilderness and see if we can find some spare tires. For trailer stuff, I've always had good luck with Northern Tools, so I figured that would be a good first stop. And wouldn't you know it, they had tons of trailer tires, including the exact size and bolt pattern that we need. And just like that, we have secured two beautiful trailer tires. You might be wondering, but Mads, why do you need two spare tires? Well, just because I'm slightly paranoid. I don't believe there is anything wrong with the tires on the trailer. They look perfectly fine, but I am so freaking done with all of this moving stuff. I just want to get us to North Carolina, and I definitely do not want to get stuck halfway between Florida and North Carolina. If the cost of that is one extra spare tire that I am sure we can sell in North Carolina, it seems like it's a fairly common size. So yeah, two spare tires it is. Early the next morning, we started the 700-mile trip to North Carolina. The CRV is not really up for towing the tool trailer, but luckily our friend Dave and his truck volunteered to do the heavy lifting. And just like that, we are done moving stuff. Everything we own is now within a few miles of this spot right here. Of course, getting all of our stuff moved here to Oriental is just step one in the process of actually being able to work on the boat again, because now we gotta get set up here in the Under the Boat workshop, which is gonna involve a fair bit of unpacking and organizing. I'm not the tidiest person in the world, but I think we can all agree that working in the tool trailer is kind of hard if you can't physically get into the tool trailer. I want to see if I can get enough stuff out of the tool trailer so that I can lighten it up a little bit so I can get it lined up here under the boat the way I want to. But my real goal for today is to get some plywood so I can build a new workshop table this weekend. I think it's mainly the steps that are super heavy and are keeping me from being able to move the trailer. Seeing me humiliated by my own trailer, Blair, the owner of the yard, graciously offered me the use of his skid steer. I've never used one of these before, but I've always wanted to. It looks like a lot of fun.
The skid steer did not disappoint. It is really fun to drive one of these. My only concern is not ramming the trailer into the boat, and also the anchor is super close to the solar panels, so I can't afford to accidentally raise the hitch on the trailer. There was a not insignificant amount of fiddling about to get the hitch lined up, but finally I was able to move the trailer. Now if you ever see me in real life and my face looks like this, then please don't interrupt. This is the maximum concentration face. And believe it or not, despite what my face was looking like here, I was having a ton of fun. After a little bit of fiddling about, I got the trailer lined up perfectly and with just enough room that both of the doors can open. Having spent all of 15 minutes in a skid steer now, I wouldn't say I'm good at it, but if anybody out there ever needs me to babysit their skid steer or maybe take it for a walk while they're on vacation, go ahead and leave a comment down below.
Ta-da! The trailer is perfectly lined up and both of the doors open. Now, not to negate all of the cruising fun Ava and I've had over the last 4 years and all the cool projects and stuff, but moving the trailer with that skid steer, I think that's the most fun I've had in years. With the trailer in place, we can now go ahead and get some power connected so we can charge our 10 kilowatt hours worth of lithium. Of course, with our solar panels covered up by the tramp branch, we're not going to get much energy from the sun, but that's okay. I would rather have the trailer in under the boat so I can get into the trailer without getting rained on. And also by shoving it all the way in, we're using less room here in the yard. So yeah, the solar panels are more meant for when we find a piece of property and we put the trailer out there. Thanks to a bit of YouTube magic, the blue truck went all the way to Lowe's, which is about 34 minutes away from here, and picked up some plywood and some 2x4s so we can build a new workshop table. It would have been awesome to reuse the old workshop table from Florida. There was really nothing wrong with that, but as you saw, we didn't really have any extra room in the tool trailer, so yeah, we're gonna have to build a new one. But the good news is, the wood, it wasn't that expensive, and it's not super high quality stuff, right? It's just a workshop table. But once we have the workshop table, then we can have the storage under there so we can start getting organized and settle in.
The blue truck swung back into action and stopped by the storage unit to pick up the boxes with my tools in them, and also these two sawhorses that I hate with the burning passion of 1,000 suns. But that is a story for another time. While picking up the lumber, I also got 4 bed risers. The idea being to keep the wood nice and dry. This is not going to work out, but we'll get back to that a little bit later. I had already unscrewed and unstrapped all of my tools in the tool trailer, so I was quickly on to chopping dead tree carcasses. I doubt it's needed, but just for good measure I decided to use a bit of construction adhesive, along with, of course, an obscene amount of screws. To fit the legs into the bed risers, I had to trim off a little bit. I did that with the depth stop on the miter saw and a chisel. So much wasted effort. Building the table only took a few hours, and while it's definitely not fine furniture, I think it'll do just fine for a workshop table. The bottom shelf on the version of this table I built in Florida started sagging a little bit, so for this version I added a little bit of extra support and crossed my fingers. Before I started building the table, I spent a little bit of time doing the math to figure out how much room I would need to be able to slide in the bottom plywood. Although it was a tight fit, I am happy to report Captain Dum-Dum did not show his face. At least not yet.
I'm really pleased with how my workshop table here turned out. It's basically a carbon copy of the first version, but I really like the first version, so that's okay. Now there was one little embarrassing Captain Dum-Dum moment. I like a workshop table to be around 92 centimeters high, that's about 36 inches, which this is right now. But yeah, I don't have the bed risers on there. So apparently math is hard, and I forgot to subtract the height of the bed risers somehow. I am sure I did, but I clearly didn't. So yeah, we'll go without the bed risers. I could go ahead and design and 3D print some little feet for the table legs, but of course then I didn't have to notch out the area to actually fit the bed risers, because then I'm designing the feet. So yeah, that was a little bit of a Captain Dum-Dum mistake. While building the table, I realized that it would be really nice to have a storage rack for these yellow and black bins over here, maybe with some plywood on top to have more surface area in the shop. But I am out of lumber, but that's kind of okay, because I also realized that I don't have enough paint to actually paint the table, so we need to go to Lowe's anyways. It's about a 34-minute drive to Lowe's, and to get full value for the gas we're going to burn, I figured while we're out and about, we might as well check out a property that's for sale that's on the way there. Welcome back to the blue truck. As you can see, I have not started working on the dash yet, but I can wait a little bit. As you can see, she still runs, and that's the most important part. This piece of property we're heading to, it's one of the guys from the yard that told me about it, and I do not have all the details. I know a couple of things. It is outside the city limits, it's in a forested area, it's uncleared, and I'm assuming it's unrestricted. Also, it's over 20 acres. Now, we cannot afford 20 acres, and I don't really think we need 20 acres either, but apparently they are willing to sell off smaller pieces. So yeah, at the very least, it's worth it to just go check it out. In terms of location, this place is absolutely perfect. Nice and nature-like. There are some challenges though, because the whole point of us getting a piece of property is so that we can build a workshop with some living accommodation, so we can live there, move the catamaran there, so I can basically work from home, right? But of course that means we need to be able to get the catamaran there, and I don't think we're going to be able to get it in through this road here. It does look like we have 22 feet in width, which is the beam of the boat, but there are some narrow hanging branches and also some narrow bits of the road down there, it looks like. But yeah, from what I've been told, it is this piece of property in here, and yeah, as you can see, it's lots and lots of trees. Oh, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick that up, but white-tailed deer. This little intersection out here marks one boundary of the property, and then the other boundary is the road here, and then way down that way. In terms of location, this place is basically perfect. I mean, it's super nature-like. You can't even hear the road that's way back there somewhere. It's only 15 minutes from Newbern, so it'll be easy to get things when we need to. The only thing is, I don't know if we're ready, and also if it's even possible to get the catamaran in here. So maybe the next thing I should do is just have a little chat with Danny. This place is out of like the flood zone area, and without going into somebody's property in there, from here, I mean, it doesn't look super wet in there. Needless to say, of course, it is going to be a massive amount of work to clear something like that and to build a workshop and living accommodations. But we would really love to have the catamaran right where we live, because it's much easier for me to work that way, because it means I can come back in the evenings, do another coat, stuff like that. It really boosts productivity. And also we would love to have a base to return to once we're done cruising.
I jumped back in the blue truck and headed to Lowe's, which to my knowledge so far is the only lumberyard option in New Bern. If I'm wrong, please correct me down in the comment section. Back onto the boat, it was back to the miter saw. But I quickly remembered that I was humbled a little bit earlier by those bed risers, and I realized I better double check my math. But it looked about right, so I set to work. The rack is going to consist of 5, let's call it leg segments, that the storage bins can slide in and out on. It was a fun little project and it was fairly quick to put together, and I'm happy to report that the bins were a perfect fit. Although, as is tradition, there was one minor setback.
Or let's call that 1.5 setbacks, because I remembered when I tried shoving this box into the rack that we have 1 or 2 of these that are from a different store, not from Home Depot, and yeah, they don't fit in the rack, but that's okay. I think we only have 1 or 2 of them, and we have a bunch more of the ones that actually fit. The real setback is the fact that all of my Bosch batteries are dead. My charger is somewhere, possibly in a box in the storage unit or possibly up inside of the catamaran. Nobody knows. But yeah, for now we are out of juice. So I will save putting this piece of plywood on top of the rack and finishing that until next week's video, where hopefully the charger will emerge, and also we should be able to get all of the unpacking and organizing out of the way. Meanwhile, I have also come up with the first decent sized project I want to work on here aboard Spiffy, and that is going to be our missing eyebrow. This whole fiberglass part here is missing from the starboard side. As you can see, this is very much a 3D part here. It wraps all the way around the boat, and it also has this bit of interesting geometry back here. My plan is to take what I learned from making the new hatches for the tramp ramp and basically follow that same process but on steroids. So that means 3D scanning the boat, designing the new part in CAD, and then CNC routing a mold for the new part. There's some damage to the boat here, down here, and then of course there is Brian's old repair here. We'll have to shine that up a little bit. So yeah, there's some prep work we need to do before we can do the 3D scanning and the mold stuff. But I think the timing will work out great, because I've only just started looking into what CNC machine to get, and also where do I store that thing until we have the workshop. But yeah, so we need to finish getting organized here under the boat and also take care of those repairs up on the boat in preparation of the eyebrow project. I am really starting to get excited about getting back to the boat work. That is going to be awesome. And on that positive note, I'll end this week's video here. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like. See you! And of course, thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring this week's video.